Western media often tries to control the narrative, but some African leaders aren't having it. In this video, we're highlighting 5 unforgettable moments when African leaders shut down Western journalists, setting the record straight with confidence and clarity. Get ready for some bold responses and eye-opening truths. Let's dive in. Paul Kagame. Kagame was asked about accusations of human rights abuses, specifically regarding the elimination of political opponents and press oppression. In response, he challenged the accuser, asking for proof of guilt instead of trying to prove innocence. Kagame emphasized that claims from outside Rwanda don't reflect the reality within the country, where people's lives and aspirations are similar to anyone else's. He described Rwanda as being unfairly viewed from afar, without understanding the actual experiences of Rwandans. Kagame also pointed out their own struggles, having fought for personal and national rights, not to become president. He found it absurd and offensive to be accused of violating the rights of their people, stating that their goal is to serve them in the best way possible.
You've spoken a lot about democracy, and I would just like to point to the accusations of human rights abuses in terms of the elimination of your political opponents or the oppression of the press, and I would just like to hear your comments towards that.
No, I would like to hear your comments, because for me, it's like, it's always difficult to accuse me of anything and then say, prove yourself innocent. I think I want to turn it to you and say, prove me guilty. That's where the problem lies. The press or human rights groups, what they say about me personally or about Rwanda, when you are in Rwanda and are dealing with these decent human beings also in Rwanda, and they tell you their own stories, you won't trace even 0.001% of what they're talking about. Oh. The real life there is completely different from what the young girl is talking about. Absolutely different. But people will stay here, will be here in the US and wherever, and they've never even been to Rwanda, they've never met Rwandans. The real Rwandans, they are there. Rwandans are there. The real people of Rwanda who are no different from you, what you aspire to be, to have, to do, they are no different. But it's as if Rwanda is treated like a botanical garden where you just go and water flowers and, no, human beings like anyone in this room. Absolutely. So these so-called human don't know what. I tell you, half of my life I've been living in the trenches, not sure of living to the next day. I didn't fight to be the president of my country. Never. It came by accident, I think. So I was fighting for my own rights, which anyone in any human rights organization could not give me. And even now cannot give me or cannot give Rwandans. So it's cynical and absurd that anyone would just be there talking about violations, me as the leader of my own people to be accused of violating their rights. It's just an absurd insult. But my answer is simple, is to do my best to serve my people the best way they can be served. That is the answer.
Julius Malema. Julius Malema discussed the collapse of state-run institutions in South Africa, attributing it to corrupt leadership. He emphasized that this does not mean state institutions can't succeed, using Singapore as an example of how state-owned enterprises can contribute to the economy. Malema advocated for state intervention in partnership with the private sector to improve South Africa's economy. He stressed that open discussions, even if uncomfortable, are essential for the country's progress. Malema praised platforms like the Cape Chamber for allowing such dialogue, saying that exchanging ideas, even with those you disagree with, is necessary for building South Africa. He concluded by calling for new policies, moving beyond the sunset clauses of the past to create a better future for the nation.
Most of the state-run institutions did well before, and as a result of the current corrupt leadership, they are collapsing. They are collapsing, and therefore we must not say because there is an incapable leadership, state institutions will inherently not do well. I mean, we can give many examples. Singapore is one of the countries with state-owned enterprises which are contributing decisively to the economy. So we saying here in South Africa, anything that is going to help us, it is a state intervention in partnership with private sector to run a successful economy. Anyway, as you were shouting at the back, I was not shocked because I don't raise comfortable things. I must touch the nerve. And I don't get easily shaken, whether by sober or half sober people. I have no problem at all. No one get to scare me. I express myself anywhere free, without any fear or any intention of begging relationships. I'm here to articulate the EFF policy. You like it or not, it doesn't matter. We are happy that the Cape Chamber invited us, not because we share anything, but because we can exchange ideas. What is going to make South Africa work? What is going to make South Africa work is platforms like this, where we sit together and exchange ideas, sometimes in a robust manner, because it is good for our democracy. We cannot just sit in our comfort zones and not talk to each other. We have to talk to one another, sometimes uncomfortable as it might be. It's a necessary discourse because it will build this country. That's Madiba's legacy, the ability to talk to those you even disagree with. That's where we come from, and we believe that with this type of intervention, South Africa will be a better place. We have noted all those international developments, and even when it was nice time internationally, we were still doing bad, not because of the global economy, but because of the policies which were agreed to during the sunset clauses. We need the sunrise clauses. Thank you.
Robert Mugabe. In this speech, Robert Mugabe rejected the imposition of new rights that contradict Zimbabwe's values, norms, and traditions, specifically stating, "We are not gays," to emphasize his stance. He called for global cooperation and mutual respect to promote human rights, criticizing confrontational approaches, double standards, and vilification. Mugabe also emphasized the importance of self-determination and independence as fundamental rights for all people. He expressed concern over the continued denial of these rights to the people of Western Sahara, urging the United Nations to swiftly complete the decolonization process in the region.
We equally reject attempts to prescribe new rights that are contrary to our values, norms, traditions, and beliefs. We are not gays. Cooperation and respect for each other will advance the cause of human rights worldwide. Confrontation, vilification, and double standards will not. Mr. President, self-determination and independence are intrinsic and fundamental rights that should be enjoyed by all peoples everywhere without distinction. We are deeply concerned by the continued denial of this basic right to the Sahrawi people. We urge the United Nations to expeditiously finalize what must be done to conclude the decolonization of the Western Sahara.
Ibrahim Traore. Traore criticized imperialists for viewing Africa as an empire of slaves, exploiting its resources while appointing local leaders he described as living room slaves who serve foreign interests. He condemned these leaders for betraying their own people and enriching themselves by following the commands of their foreign masters. He highlighted the continued exploitation of African resources, such as uranium in Niger, which lights up foreign cities while leaving African nations in darkness. Traore stressed that Africa must take control of its own destiny, rejecting external manipulation and false narratives of democracy and human rights imposed by foreign powers. Finally, Traore called for a united front, declaring that Africans will fight for real independence and freedom, not only for themselves but for future generations.
Comrades, members of the various SA governments, dear participants in the first sleep of SA heads of state, good morning. It was a great pleasure and an honor to be here today. A blessed date, a memorable date, July 6, 2024, here in Niamey. First of all, let us give thanks to God who made this day possible. We thank Him for everything He has done for us until today, and everything He will do for the people of the AES. Please allow me also to pay tribute to the Nigerian people, these people who have suffered so much since the advent of the CNSP, and who continue to remain standing. Thank you to the Nigerians who gave us a warm welcome yesterday when we set foot on the soil of our homeland here. You are more than friends, you are more than neighbors, you are our brothers, you are our sisters. Because fraternity goes beyond friendship or neighborhood. We have the same blood flowing through our veins. In our veins runs the blood of these valiant warriors who fought and who reserved these lands that we call Mali, Burkina, and Niger. In our veins runs the blood of these valiant warriors who helped the whole world get rid of Nazism and many other scourges. In our veins runs the blood of these valiant warriors who were deported from Africa to Europe, America, Asia, or whatever, and who helped build these states during slavery. In our veins flows the blood of worthy men, of robust men, of capable men. And for this, let us be proud and thank you for being a national of the AES. Africa, this continent which has suffered so much and which continues to suffer because of the imperialists. These imperialists have only one cliché in mind: Africa is the empire of slaves. This is how they see Africa. For them, Africans belong to them. Our land belongs to them. Our basements belong to them. They have never been able to change software until today. It's deplorable. But how does he do it? It is unfortunately since the 1960s that these 6,000 acres of independence were given to Africa. They just placed local valleys at the head, according to them, of their sub-prefecture to be able to continue to supply them. These local valleys that we are going to describe today as living room slaves have no other guide than to seek to live like the master, to satisfy the master, and to do everything that the master dictates. They steal, they plunder our states, take everything to the master, and their wealth is kept with the master. They do everything to live like their master and always satisfy him. When the master commands, they execute. Do you know who these parlor slaves are? We will explain to you what it is. These are individuals who have no dignity, who have no morals, who have no personality. but the slave master always knew how to identify these individuals. They are always ready to betray their brother to satisfy the master. They have betrayed us since independence, and others continue to betray us until today for the benefit of their master. These individuals always continue against all odds to plunder Africa, to help the master to plunder Africa. They like to say it every year. In their economic survey, Burkina is the poorest country, Mali is the poorest country, Niger is the poorest country. We are ranked among the last. All right, if we are as poor as they say, but when the time came to take responsibility, we asked these masters to leave the place. Why don't they want to leave? Because we take the case of Niger. For more than 40 years, certain countries have exploited uranium to produce energy at home. From Ottawa to Paris, the streets are illuminated. It's light. But in Niger, it's darkness. Security that served us. When you go to our states, our soils are drilled all over to search for precious metals such as gold. But often, there is not even the slightest accessible road to reach areas where they exploit some basic social services. This is why we decided to revolt and take the destiny of our countries into our own hands. There are many other examples, but when we decided this, we were approached by some parlor slaves to give us their master's message, because they had created this sort of polymer chain that sticks up at the head of our states to serve them. And we have come to break the chain, and it's inconceivable for them. They therefore approached us and asked us to join the ranks to form part of the elite who must lead Africa, because they have a trained and formatted elite who must follow, who are embedded in this chain. We refused to join their ranks, and from then on, hostilities began. They have led several mercenaries, trainers, and agents into our areas who have descended into the Sahel to hope to carry out barbaric, cowardly attacks against our populations, to hope to revolt them. In addition to these attacks on the ground, communicational attacks, manipulation, disinformation, etc., are full in their souls. But the people of the Sahel have understood, and we will never be able to manipulate them again. They know where they come from, they know what they are doing, and they know where they are going. We are not going to allow this anymore. People are awake, and people are fighting today, not for ourselves, but for generations to come. And thank you all for the fight that is being fought.
Thomas Sankara. In this speech, Thomas Sankara addressed the issue of African debt, criticizing the colonizers who first colonized Africa and then led it into debt. He pointed out that it was these former colonizers who managed African economies and states, creating debts that Africans did not choose, and therefore, Africans should not be responsible for paying them. Sankara explained that technical advisors from the West proposed financial plans and enticing loans that ultimately trapped African nations in long-term debt, sometimes 50 to 60 years or more, compromising future generations. He argued that this system is a well-organized form of imperialism designed to keep African countries dependent. He concluded by likening the situation to a casino game where the creditors played and lost, but now expect Africans to cover their losses. Sankara called for a break from this exploitative system to allow Africa to grow and thrive independently.
Ceux qui nous ont prêté de l'argent, ce sont ceux-là qui nous ont colonisés. Ce sont les mêmes qui géraient nos États et nos économies. Ce sont les colonisateurs qui endettaient l'Afrique auprès des bailleurs de fonds, leurs frères et cousins. Nous étions étrangers à cette dette. Nous ne pouvons donc pas la payer. La dette, c'est encore le néocolonialisme où les colonisateurs se sont transformés en assistants techniques. En fait, nous devrions dire qu'ils se sont transformés en assassins techniques. Et ce sont eux qui nous ont proposé des sources de financement, des bailleurs de fonds internes que l'on emploie chaque jour, comme s'il y avait des hommes dont le bâillement suffisait à créer le développement chez les autres. Ces bailleurs de fonds nous ont été conseillés, recommandés. On nous a présenté des montages financiers alléchants, des dossiers. Nous nous sommes endettés pour 50 ans, 60 ans, même plus. C'est-à-dire que l'on nous a amenés à compromettre nos peuples pendant 50 ans et plus. Mais la dette, c'est sa forme actuelle. Contrôlée, dominée par l'impérialisme. Une reconquête savamment organisée pour que l'Afrique, sa croissance, son développement obéissent à des paliers, à des normes qui nous sont totalement étrangères.
Let us know in the comment section what you think of the video. That wraps up the video for today, guys. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to subscribe to Insight TV, leave a thumbs up, and of course share the video. Until the next time, see you in the next video.